Hello everyone, welcome to today's tutorial on building your own video live streaming case with the Osee GoStream Deck. Maybe get a snack before we start because we're gonna be here for a little bit. Before we start, a quick disclaimer. We're dealing with electrical and electronic components, so please proceed with caution. I won't be responsible for any accidents or issues that may arise. So by following this tutorial, you're assuming all responsibility for any risks involved. Safety first. That said, let's get started. We'll be using this Magia case. I chose this case because I have some experience with it. It's very strong and reliable, and there's a wide variety of colors, and the price is probably the best out there for cases of this size. After having the case, go to my Etsy store. You'll find the link in the description. Maybe buy me supper because I've been working a lot to complete this project and make it easy for you. In there, you'll find the 3D printable files as well as the templates to cut the holes in the box. Once you download these files, print the template. Once printed, we're gonna cut it with scissors. Watch your fingers. This will make cutting the holes extremely easy for you. With all the shapes cut, just proceed to tape them to the box in the place where you want to make the holes. Make sure the holes are perfectly aligned by taking some measurements. This one here is for the 5 HDMI output and the Ethernet cable. Proceed to tape it in place. This one is the bigger hole we're gonna make, 77 millimeters. And this rectangular hole is gonna be to place the power switch. I'll strongly suggest that you make the holes exactly where I'm placing them. You have a little bit of wiggle room here and there, but not that much. And this is how it should look once the templates have been taped to the case. We're gonna get the drill and use that 77 millimeters hole saw. This one is diamond coated and we'll go through that plastic very easy. Actually, this is used to cut ceramic and marble. Put the hole saw in place and proceed with caution. Don't apply too much pressure. And there it is. The biggest hole of this project has been cut. We're gonna use a 332 drill bit, in this case, to drill a hole in the center of each hole, to use it as a guide. Once these little holes are drilled, it'll make our job way easier. And then we're gonna be using this step drill bit set, which is very easy to work with. Just make sure you don't go past the size you need because there's no way back. The holes we're making are 19, 20, and 26 millimeters. Have that in mind. But these step drill bits are very easy to use, as each diameter is engraved in the drill bit itself. The paper is gonna get destroyed. You're just using it as a guide. So as soon as you finish the holes, just remove the paper. Now we're gonna make the holes for the audio panel. These ones are a tiny bit smaller, 19 millimeters only. Here we're making the front 4 holes, where we're going to be placing the 4 power switches. One for the monitor, one for the switcher, one for the main exhaust fan, and another one for the injector fans, which I call the twin turbo fans. As we go, we try the switches in place just to make sure we don't make bigger holes than what we need. They're supposed to fit in really tight. Now we're gonna switch the step drill bit to the bigger one to make the USB-C adapter hole, which is a tiny bit bigger than the other ones, 26 millimeters. For the square hole, we're gonna be using this Dremel with this particular blade, which comes with the Dremel. Make sure to cut only up to the corner on each 4 sides. When all 4 sides are cut, just push in and we should be good. After completing all the holes, make sure to remove all the shavings. This will give us a better finish. Well, we have a big mess now, so I think it's a perfect time to clean and vacuum. Make sure you don't vacuum stuff that you don't want to vacuum. Just the garbage, okay? If you want, you can take a piece of paper towel and a little bit of rubbing alcohol and clean the inside of the case. I'm trying to avoid leaving any residues inside of the case because this may affect the performance of the fans and the switcher itself. And that's how it looks. It doesn't look too bad, but I'm pretty sure that you can do a better job than myself. The first thing we're gonna do is place the main power switch in its hole, and then we're gonna take a 332 drill bit to make the guide holes on each side. Next, we're gonna use these tiny lag screws, 18 millimeters by 3 millimeters. So they're very, very tiny. And these are the ones we're gonna use to hold the main power switch in place. And it looks good to me. Again, we're gonna use that small 332 drill bit, this time to make the guide holes for the main exhaust fan. Let's clean up those holes. And then we're gonna use a 964 drill bit to make the final holes. Let's keep it clean. And let's proceed to install all 4 front power switches. Remember, they're supposed to fit in really tight. Let's install the fan in place with 4 screws. This is an 80 millimeter fan, and from our pack of millimetric screws, we're going to be using 4 18 millimeter by 4 millimeters, nut and bolt. In the installation of this fan, you may see that I use longer screws that go from side to side in the fan, but let's not do that. Let's do the tiny ones, so that you only hold the outer wall of the fan. Okay, I think it's time to proceed with the installation of the HDMI adapters. These HDMI adapters come with a rubber gasket or rubber washer, however you want to call it, that will keep them really tight. And this is the last one, which is the Ethernet adapter. Next, we're going to install the audio adapters with the audio extensions. The adapters are female to male, and the extensions are female to male as well. But this is only for the microphones, because the extension for the headphones is male to male. Yeah, as you can see here, this is the headphones adapter, and the extension is male to male. As the adapter itself, it's female to female. As you can see, this is very convenient because this will keep dust and water and whatever away from your connectors. Now let's proceed to install the USB-C extension. This also comes with a rubber cover to make sure your connections are protected when not being used. The wires in this particular adapter are very long, so I'll suggest that you loop it and use a zip tie. At this point, I assume you have downloaded the printable files from Etsy. Well, I guess you have, because that's where the templates to make the holes in the box are. And as you can see, it's a zip or RAR folder. So simply extract the files, and here are the 3D printable files. In this folder, you have 3 3D printable files, one with both sides of the design, another one with the left side, and one with the right side. So use the one of your convenience according to the size of your 3D printer plate. You have two choices. If you have a printer yourself, just print them at home. If not, just take them to the 3D print shop closer to you. Once you have the 3D printed items, which are the top cover of the case, the first thing we're gonna do is install the airflow injector fans, which I call the twin turbo fans. To install these fans, we're gonna be using 8 screws. And these ones are 17 millimeters by 2.5 millimeters, which you'll find in your screw kit. And as I mentioned before, you'll find every single screw that you need for this project in this kit. And this is how the twin turbo fans should look after being installed. Here we're going to be using the threaded brass insert kit. You can purchase this kit yourself, but these are widely used in 3D printing shops. So you could also ask in your local 3D printing shop if they can do this for you. But it's pretty easy, so you could probably just do it yourself. And the ones we're going to be using are the 6x7 millimeters. To push them in, we're going to be using a soldering tool. Just wait until it's really hot. And maybe use a screwdriver or a tweezers to hold the other side. Again, I'm pretty sure you can do a better job than myself. And this is kind of how it should look at the end. And then we're going to be using these tiny screws for the SD card extender. These screws are 1.5 by 16 millimeters. And we're also going to be using the nuts. And here we have the SD card extender. Link in the description, the same as all the other parts that we're using here. As you can see, this is the slot where we're going to be installing the SD card extender. And this is how it looks from the other side. Those two tiny screws are going to go through these two holes in the SD card extender. I'll suggest that you insert an SD card to use it as a guide and to hold the SD card extender in place. Be very careful with this and make sure you don't over tighten it. Once both sides are ready, let's put them together just to see how they align. Again, you'll find the screws for this in the screw kit. And as you can see, they align perfectly fine. Now we're going to start making the electrical connections. To power the main fan and connect it to one of the power switches, we're going to cut the wire. And we will interrupt one of the two wires, directing it to the power switch. It should look something like this. You can use electrical tape to put them together, or you could also use heat shrink tubes. To supply the power to the entire unit, I made this thingamajig. I'm pretty sure you can make an adapter better than this, but in my case, this is what I had in hand, and I'm using this power outlet and use the 3 wires that came with the power switch as the connectors. So we're gonna proceed to connect the 3 colored wires. Yellow is gonna be the first one at the bottom. The next one is gonna be the blue, and the third one is going to be the red, and that one is going on top. For the turbo injector fans, we're going to cut the USB adapter that came with these fans, and from both sides we're only going to use the black and red wires because those are the negative and positive. The rest of them, we don't need them, so we're gonna cut the white, the green, and the ground. I decided not to make a detailed electric diagram because these are just basic connections. We're gonna do this operation in both sides. This time we're gonna use heat shrink tubes. And we're gonna reconnect black wire with black wire. The same in the other side. And to shrink the tubes, we're going to use this heat gun. The remaining red ends are going to the power switch. And this is how it will look at the end. This side is going to the power adapter and the other side is going to the power switch. We're going to be using this power adapter with 2 outputs so that we can supply all 3 fans at the same time with one single unit. And we're going to have to modify it like this in order for it to fit inside of the case without interfering with other items. So depending on what power adapter you have in hand, you'll need to figure out how it fits best. And here we have the power adapter for the monitor. We also did the same adapter so it fits sideways instead of standing. And again, we have to cut the cable, interrupt one side, and send it to the power switch. These red and black wires come attached to each power switch, so you have them there. And this is the GoStream power adapter, and to this one we did exactly the same that we did to the monitor power adapter. We cut the cable, interrupted one side, and sent it to the power switch using the red and black cables that came with the power switch. So again, nothing complicated. This is how it looks. Now that we have all the power supply figured out, we're going to proceed to connect all the red and black cables to each power switch. In this case, I'm gonna start in the bottom right as I'm going to assign that power switch to the Osee GoStream Deck. Next, I'm gonna connect the monitor red and black wires to the top right switch, followed by the left bottom switch where I'll be connecting the exhaust fan. And on top of that, the twin turbo fans. And this is how the final connection should look. Next, I'm gonna connect the Osee GoStream Deck and all the HDMI adapters and audio cables, as well as the Ethernet cable. This 90-degree HDMI cable has to go through here because that's the one that goes to the monitor, followed by the power cable going as well to the monitor. Once that's completed, we're gonna fit the Osee GoStream Deck to the left side. Once that's done, we're going to insert the SD card extender inside of the deck. And right after that, we're going to proceed to slide in the right side of the unit. We're going to make sure that everything fits in perfectly before inserting the screws. And as you can see, the 3D printed parts fit in that case like a glove. To install the monitor, we're going to be using these hanging strips. They hold up to 16 pounds, and this monitor I think is not even 3 pounds, so it should be okay. There's 2 holes in the back of the monitor for screws. I could maybe make 2 more holes, but I just didn't want to make more holes in this case. So that's why I decided to go with the hanging strips. I'm going to install one in the right side and another one on the left side. Make sure that the monitor is perfectly aligned, but a little bit to the right of the lid of the case, just to make sure that we have enough room for the HDMI connector and the power connector. This is how it looks. On the left, on the right, it feels solid. It's tiny, portable, and efficient. And probably the people at Osee won't like this, because I think this deck will last forever inside of this case. I'm just trying out the latches to make sure that everything fits in perfectly fine, and it does. Let's turn it on to make sure everything works properly. And everything works perfectly fine. So I guess that's it. If you found that this video was helpful for your project, consider liking and subscribing. If you have any questions or suggestions, just leave them in the comments. Just let me know what you think about the final result. That's it for now. See you next time.